I'm 87 years old, and I need to tell you something before I run out of time. For most of my life, I believed a lie that sounded responsible, a lie that sounded smart, a lie that everyone around me believed too. I believed that if you worked hard enough, if you sacrificed enough, if you did what was expected of you, then life would eventually make sense. I believed meaning was something you earned later, that happiness was the reward for endurance, that first you survive and then you live. If you believe that right now, please listen to me, because I believed it for almost 80 years, and now standing near the end of my life, I can finally see what it cost me. My name is George. I'm not famous. I'm not successful in a way people write books about. I'm just an old man who lived long enough to notice how quietly time disappears. I lived through war. I lived through loss. I watched people I loved fade out of my life, not because of drama, but because of distance, because of busyness, because of later. From the outside, my life looked fine, stable, responsible, respectable. Inside, something felt missing, but I didn't have words for it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but somehow it still feels empty? You wake up, you work, you handle responsibilities, you push forward, and because nothing is technically wrong, you don't question it. That's how I lived. For decades, I called it discipline. I called it maturity. I called it being a good man. Now I know what it really was. Autopilot. The moment everything changed wasn't dramatic. It happened in a car. I was picking up my granddaughter from school. She was 15. She got in, quiet, not sad, not angry, just tired. After a few minutes, she looked out the window and asked me something I wasn't ready to hear. She said, "Grandpa, does it ever feel like no matter what you do, it still doesn't matter?" I didn't answer right away, because that question had been living inside me for years. The only difference was this. She was asking it at 15, and I was asking it at 87. That's when I realized something was very wrong. Because this feeling doesn't come from failure. It comes from believing the wrong story about life. And in the next part, I'll tell you exactly what that story was. The lie I spent most of my life believing, and why it quietly steals meaning without you noticing. Before that moment in the car, my life followed a very simple pattern. Wake up, work hard, be responsible, repeat. I didn't question it, because everyone around me lived the same way. We praised exhaustion, we admired sacrifice, we respected people who never slowed down. I believed that being busy meant being valuable, that being needed meant being important, and that if I kept going long enough, life would eventually reward me with meaning. That was the lie. The lie was this: if you do everything right, life will feel right. So I did everything right. I put my head down, I delayed rest, I postponed joy. I told myself, not now, later. I missed dinners because work was important. I missed conversations because I was tired. I missed moments because I thought there would be more. And the dangerous part? Nothing felt wrong at the time. No alarms went off. No one warned me. People called me reliable, strong, disciplined. But discipline can turn into distance if you're not careful. I saw this lie play out in the lives of my friends too. One friend retired early. He had money, status, a nice house, but no one to share breakfast with. Another worked non-stop for his family, provided everything except presents. His children grew up without really knowing him. We all believed we were doing the right thing. We were all waiting for life to begin. And here's what no one tells you. Life doesn't start later. Later is just a story we tell ourselves to survive the present. By the time you realize later has arrived, you're older, more tired, and carrying regrets you don't know how to fix. That's what hit me after my granddaughter's question. I realized I had spent most of my life preparing for a future that never asked me to live in it. I wasn't unhappy because I failed. I was unhappy because I believed success would automatically create meaning. It doesn't. Meaning comes from attention, from connection, from choosing to be present when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or inefficient. And I didn't learn that until far too late. In the next part, I'll tell you what changed after that realization, what I stopped doing, what I started doing, and the one lesson I wish every young person could understand before time quietly slips away. After that day in the car, something inside me shifted, not all at once, not dramatically, but quietly. For the first time in my life, I stopped asking, "What should I be doing?" And I started asking, "What am I missing while I'm doing all this?" That question changed everything. I began to notice how rarely I was truly present. I was there physically, but not emotionally. I listened, but I didn't really hear. I showed up, but my mind was always somewhere else, planning, worrying, preparing for the next thing. So I started doing something very uncomfortable. I slowed down. I stopped filling every silence. I stopped treating rest like a reward. I stopped measuring my days by how productive they were, and something strange happened. The world didn't collapse. People didn't stop respecting me. Life didn't fall apart. Instead, it started to feel real again. I paid attention to small moments I used to rush past. Conversations without an agenda. Meals without distractions. Sitting quietly with someone I love without trying to fix or improve anything. These moments don't look important. They don't impress anyone. They don't show up on resumes. But they are where meaning hides. Watching my granddaughter helped me understand this even more. Young people today aren't confused because they're lazy. They're confused because they're exhausted, trying to live up to expectations that don't actually lead anywhere. They're told to optimize everything, to hustle, to prepare for a future that never seems to arrive. I wish I could sit every young person down and say this: your life is not something you earn later. It's something you participate in now. Not when you have more time. Not when you feel ready. Now. Here's the lesson it took me 87 years to learn. Meaning doesn't come from doing more. It comes from being more present. It comes from choosing people over performance, attention over achievement, connection over control. I didn't need a better plan. I needed a better way of being alive. And I only realized that when time stopped feeling infinite. In the final part, I want to leave you with something practical. Not rules, not motivation, but a simple way to rethink how you're spending the days you assume you have. Because the most dangerous mistake isn't failing, it's waiting. If there's one thing I want you to remember from my story, it's this: time doesn't warn you before it changes everything. You don't get a notification, you don't get a countdown, you don't get a second draft of your life. One day you're busy making plans, and the next you're looking back wondering where the years went. That's why I'm asking you to pause, right now, not tomorrow, not after things calm down, not when life finally makes sense, now. So let me leave you with something simple, not advice, not rules, just a way to think differently. Stop waiting for permission to live. Stop believing rest is something you have to earn. Stop postponing the conversations that matter. Stop assuming the people you love will always be there. And start paying attention. Start choosing presence over performance. Start listening without planning your response. Start asking yourself, if this were one of my last ordinary days, would I be satisfied with how I spent it? Because ordinary days are not ordinary when you run out of them. I believed for most of my life that meaning would arrive later, that if I just kept going, kept pushing, kept proving myself, life would eventually slow down and reward me. It never did. Meaning doesn't arrive. It's created quietly through how you show up, through who you make time for, through what you choose to notice, through what you refuse to keep postponing. If you're young, please hear this. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to optimize your entire future. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be awake to the life you're already in. And if you're older, like me, it's never too late to be more present, but it is too late to pretend time is unlimited. I'm 87 years old. I don't regret working hard. I regret waiting too long to live. If this story resonated with you, if it made you stop for a moment, please share it with someone you care about. You never know who needs to hear this before it's too late. And if you want more stories like this, honest reflections from the end of the road, subscribe to this channel, not to be entertained, but to be reminded. Because the most dangerous lie is thinking you have time, and I hope you learn that sooner than I did.